everyone, welcome back to the Zach F1 channel, and we are live streaming again. It feels so weird to be saying that I'm live streaming because yes, we did have quite a bit of F1 from the summer break to here, but that 3-week break off, obviously I've been making videos, but I do love a good old live stream. And from that break where I wasn't, on that break where the summer break was happening to here, obviously I wasn't live streaming on 2 of the times on my channel basically. So I just love being back on the channel. But basically, you know what this is all about. You've got my team right here already that I'm almost pretty sure I'm going for, with Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, Bottas, Zhou, Colapinto, McLaren and Ferrari. Hey, let's see if you guys can change my mind on that. I might be using autopilot, but I doubt I'll be using extra DRS this weekend. I just don't think it's the weekend, especially for my team to be using that. But anyway, let me get up the chat and I will help all of you out. Right, let's get this going. Perfect. Right. So, like I mentioned, let's actually have a look at my team before what it was. So, it was a decent team. For Singapore, I couldn't afford to have Leclerc, which would have been the better option. But at the end of the day, it still worked decently for me. I mean, how many points did I get from the Singapore Grand Prix? 214. It wasn't terrible, but that Albon DNF, if it wants to load, it's not going to load for me right now. But oh well, let's have a look at the rest of my team. Technical difficulties already. We love to see it. But, yeah, for anyone who's just joining now, this is what my team's most likely going to look like. I'm very much going for the, hello? There it is. I'm very much going for the big premium drivers and the triple McLaren. And I'm so scared about triple McLaren, but I can't, I physically can't afford to have Verstappen in my team. This is the team I'd have to make if I had Verstappen. Like, I wouldn't even be able to afford George Russell. So, for me, it's just it's just a non-thing to be doing anything. But yeah, the qualifying, well, not qualifying, geez Louise, I'm so used to calling it the qualifying deadline stream. The sprint race starts at 7. And like I mentioned in my post-sprint qualifying race, if you watched it, you would have noticed it was a horrible sprint race to watch. Lando Norris screwed up his lap. No one really knows where everyone's going to be because Ferraris and McLarens tend to have better race pace. But Verstappen came out of nowhere after all of this drama to look pretty decent. Oscar Piastri down in 16th. That's why we like Oscar Piastri though. But hey, let's see what happens. Right, so hey Biblical, how you doing, man? Kuka, yeah, I think I might be going autopilot as well. The reason I would be going autopilot for something like this as well is purely because, A, we don't know if Lando Norris is going to get the most amount of points this weekend. So instantly, if he doesn't get the most amount of points, it doesn't matter. And then with Oscar Piastri's positioning in the sprint quali, he could get a lot of points in an hour and 40 minutes. And I think that's worth the risk. And extra DRS, I think you'd all agree. Now, there might be different teams. If, hey, say you have Verstappen and Norris, I could understand why you're doing extra DRS. But when you have a team like mine, or a team similar to mine, with Norris, Leclerc, or Leclerc, Piastri, or even someone like Leclerc, Verstappen, it's going to be a little bit difficult to get the max out of it, because we really don't know what everyone's thinking when we get to that positions. We just haven't seen enough from me, and especially with how easy it is to get the sprint races, especially right, because we've seen sprint qualifying, obviously, the deadline's still got an hour and 38 minutes. I think even Brazil, I know I was slating Brazil, but anything would be better than this weekend for 3 times. And then a lot of people have been talking about the Limitless. So, Limitless-wise, if anyone was to run a Limitless, this is exactly what I would go for. I would go for, why does it keep on doing this? Verstappen as my 2 times, Norris, Piastri, Leclerc, and Russell. Now, I'm not a big fan of having Russell in that team, but hey, he's second place. He looks like he's got a pretty decent amount of pace. And then I would most likely go for someone like Red Bull. McLaren Red Bull's fine, but if you want to play it safe, McLaren and Ferrari, because we all know what Perez is going to be like. And I actually want to bring up the sprint qualifying results, because Hulkenberg has thrown a spanner into the works. Because I got a comment, I can't remember if I responded to it on my channel or not, but I got a comment saying, surely Red Bull's still a decent choice because Perez will overtake. No, it wasn't. It was surely Haas will lose a lot of places in the race. And normally I would say, yeah, that's 100% right. They have qualified too high for where they were. But I generally think that's where Haas are. Perez, we've seen, get stuck behind Hulkenberg quite a bit this season. I don't think he can overtake him. Both Aston Martins look pretty off the pace this season, or this weekend. Lawson and Tsunoda don't look there. Colapinto, he looks pretty fast, but he doesn't look any faster than Haas. And I wouldn't be betting my money on saying, oh, but Hulkenberg's going to get overtaken by Colapinto. So that's why I still think Haas is a great option, because it looks like they're going to qualify well, and there's no competition for them. So let's see what happens. I'm not going to go Limitless this weekend. I can understand if someone was to go Limitless. Biblical. I'm watching the stream. Oh, no. Yeah, hang on. Oh, my God, no. Sorry about that. I believe my Wi-Fi might have just went a bit dodgy. Is it okay now? I'm hoping it's okay. Put if it's okay now in the chat. Because, yeah, that's my Wi-Fi. It's being pretty wank today. But, yeah, I'll get onto the questions and hopefully you can hear me. But, yes, so I'm with Norris, Piastri, Albon, Colapinto, and Bottas with McLaren and Red Bull just to cover Max. Yeah, see, but Biblical, that's a juicy option, but I'm so scared of that Constructor Red Bull. Just because of Perez, we never know what he's going to do. He's either going to crash out or not even going to get into the points. Okay, no problem. Yeah, put down below again if it starts crashing again. Hopefully, it should be fine now, though. I've never had any issues with it before. But yeah, let's get to helping you guys out. Qatar Autopilot, be better, I think. Yeah, it really depends, like I mentioned, on what your team's looking like. Because if you can afford to have Verstappen and Norris 3 times, why not? If you can afford to have Verstappen, Leclerc 3 times. But if you can't afford to do that, it doesn't matter. You need to get the most out of it. And I think you'd still get better options from Brazil and Qatar. And then Qatar, especially for Autopilot, there was a few DNFs, but it was mainly just the Mercedes crashing into each other. So I don't think that was anything too spectacular. We did get Perez crashing, but, you know, that's the Perez factor. It wouldn't have affected your Limitless teams, that's for sure. But, right. Would you swap McLaren for Mercedes? So this is from Andy. To afford Norris plus Piastri. So I said I would in one of my comments, and it's a really difficult one. It took me a while to think if I would say yes or no to this. But with the way McLaren looks right now, it's just too inconsistent at the minute. Piastri in 16th, by all means, could be a saving grace for us. But that also means this very much feels like a Canada situation where I was like, stick with Leclerc, he'll get overtakes. Then he had issues with the car and then he couldn't get past. So don't forget that this could still happen. And it's a little bit of a risk, but that's why I don't think it's worth it. But that's why I do think for now, it's worth the risk if you want to go for it. But it's a little bit of a scary move. So be careful with that. You see any potential from F1 Cat here in a 3 times chip uses? Yeah. So I have mentioned, I do think 3 times will work. Let me show you a team that would work with 3 times. Bear in mind, I'm not actually using Limitless, but you know what I mean. So this is what I would do if you could do a 3 times team. So you'd probably have McLaren, Ferrari. You would have, I don't know why it keeps on doing that. You'd have Verstappen, Norris. And then most likely you'd only be able to afford these sorts of geezers. Now, that would be completely fine. Bear in mind, it'd be DRS over here because Verstappen looks a little bit better. Just, wow. Let me put this into perspective, and I want to show you exactly what I mean when we go over to the race results. Because I want to show you, not Miami, was it China? It might have been China. This is what I want from an extra DRS, okay? Yeah, it was China, okay? So this is what I want, okay? You see how Verstappen is first by a country mile to a solid second place, and then you've got all of these drivers here. This is when you want to use extra DRS. Now, looking back at China, it would have been a decent time to use it, but none of us would have been able to afford any of the 2 premium driver builds. No one would have been able to afford a team with Verstappen and Perez without dropping down the Constructors. That's why no one used it. But this is what we want. Now, the issue is you could get a race, which very much could happen here, with Austria, where Russell, Piastri looked very good, but it's who would have guessed Russell and Piastri were going to do this, and it very much could be the same for when we get around to the actual race here. So just be careful with that. That's why I don't think USA is the best move to go, because in China, we knew Verstappen was going to win. We knew Perez was going to do well because that Red Bull was so dominant. In a race like USA, where I really did think it would be more of a McLaren-Ferrari showdown, we've seen that Red Bull's still right there. Mercedes is right there. It's anyone's guess. And considering no other upgrades are coming, if this is exactly what's going to happen for the rest of the season, then why not? Why not wait till Brazil and Qatar? It's the same sort of premise, but at least we know a little bit more information going onwards. So that's why I'm a little bit cautious about the free times. Should you go for Oscar over Charles? I believe you should, because I really do think if Piastri doesn't crash out, it's going to be Piastri around 11th, 12th, potentially up to 8th or 9th by the sprint qualifying. And that is potential max points for him of, how much would that be? 8 positions gained. It'll be 16 points, which would be a lot more than any of the big drivers would get from a sprint race. And that's why I think there's just more potential from Piastri. Now, he didn't look amazing in the car, but we've just got to see what happens. I think it's worth the risk, considering Leclerc doesn't even look amazing. Say Leclerc was like first or second. Now, he does look good, don't get me wrong. But say Leclerc was on the top 2, I'd probably be going, okay, just be safe, go with Leclerc. But when Piastri's that far down, risk it. Go for it. Checo will have to deliver here in the Americas. McLaren isn't looking the best. Yeah, so McLaren aren't looking the best, and that's what's scary. But honestly, it's one of those things where Perez is... I've got a actually YouTube short coming out soon, because I recorded it the last day, basically talking about who should have that seat again, because it's such a joke he still has that seat. It's incredible to me to think that even if Verstappen wins every race, but Ferrari are in the top 4, they could potentially still catch up to Red Bull and catch them in the Constructors. That's how terrible he's been. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I'm not expecting anything from Perez. Should I use Limitless now or wait till Brazil? I'm not a big fan of using Limitless in Brazil, just because I think it's too chaotic. But again, I think now, looking from the sprint qualifying, if you'd asked me that question a day ago, 2 days ago, I would have told you now. But I honestly think, yeah, Brazil would be the safe option now, just purely because we just don't know what's going to happen this weekend. I guarantee you, we're going to come out of this sprint race either going, okay, yeah, Verstappen's going to win, that's fair enough. If you got extra DRS on him, that's fine. If you use Limitless and 2 times him, that's fine. But we could also come out of this sprint race being like, oh my God, Leclerc has so much race pace, he's just won the race. Or, oh my God, that McLaren looks brilliant for the race. And then all of a sudden, you've completely wasted a chip. Now, it could be the exact same for Brazil, but hey, it's worth the risk to wait. We've still got 2 sprint races to go. There's plenty of time to use Limitless and extra DRS. Don't risk it on a weekend where you don't exactly know what's going to happen. Sainz or Russell? I've gone for Sainz instead, because I do... Oh, no, actually, I went for Russell, didn't I? I went for Russell when I showed my Limitless team, and we'll see what happens, because I'm a little bit nervous on him, purely because, especially in the sprint quali, you could go into it and then he's pushed back, because we've seen it plenty of times in Canada. Bar Austria, we've seen him in Spa. Technically, he should have deserved to win that race. But let's do the first poll of the day. What are we saying? Sainz or Russell? So let's say you can't afford the big drivers, or you're going for a Limitless team. Who are you going for? I did say Sainz, but I think my money's now on Russell, because Russell did look quite rapid in qualifying. But we'll see what happens. Right, let's see any of the other stuff. Thank you for the answer. No problem, F1 Cat. I'm so tempted to send 3 times on Verstappen and Norris for the gamble. Honestly, the only thing is, if you did 3 times now, a lot of other people aren't going to be 3 timesing, so that instant gratification will be quite nice. But then you'll notice in Brazil and Qatar, you'll drop down the list, drop down the leagues, even though you're thinking, I had a great weekend. Why? And you're like, oh, it's because people are using extra DRS and all of that bollocks. But Lannister, hello, welcome to the chat. Can only have Norris plus Russell. Do you suggest I go 3 times now? No. You need to have the top 2 definite drivers to be doing 3 times, so I would say no. Number 2, defer to get Norris Piastri and take a single single constructor team. No. Keep it as it is. I honestly would keep it as it is. Russell doesn't look too bad, and Norris... I would honestly say in your position, if you have enough, you might even want to try and mix it up and go Piastri Leclerc and 2 times Piastri or 2 times Leclerc, because Norris doesn't look fantastic. So it's not a race weekend where you need to have the likes of Norris guaranteed or even Verstappen guaranteed. So you could even do something like that. But from those 3 options, I would stick with what you still have. Oh no, hang on, my bad. Oh yeah, there you go. You put it there. Doesn't Brazil have a higher chance of DNFs? Yes, it does. That's why I would prefer to use my autopilot there. But it's one of those things. I'm in a lucky position where if I don't use my autopilot, I've still got 2 sprint race weekends to use autopilot and extra DRS. But a lot of people still have 3 or more chips. And if you've got 3 or more chips, you've got to use one this weekend. Which one is it? I'd probably use autopilot over them because then you've got the extra DRS and Limitless still to go. Signs for the win. Yeah, no, to be fair, it's close. It's quite close, that poll. 59% to 41% so far. Watching with my girlfriend. We are your biggest fans. Greeting from Poland. I'm pretty sure I know who that is. So if you're still watching the live stream, hello you two. Had fun at your house. But the GOAT at Mario Kart. What can I say? Hi, Zach. Happy race weekend. Happy race weekend to you, Natalie, as well. Hopefully. Honestly, remember, F1 fantasy is great fun. But like I mentioned in one of my earlier videos, do not get fully swept up in it. Because if we have another race like Canada, which is amazing, but Norris DNFs or Verstappen DNFs and your race is ruined, try to look on the brighter side of things. I'm saying this like I won't also be in a strop if that happens. But because I still hate how Canada was it was for me the greatest race of the season, and I was just in a strop the whole time because Ferrari weren't moving. Oh god. Hey Oscar, yeah, I know the beard's coming out a little bit. It's I know I've got the white beard, but it's getting there. It's been a month. Let's see what it's like in 2 months. Red Bull, should I consider? So Red Bull's a little bit of an interesting one because let's look at their track record. So first of all, we know looking at that track record, it's not going to be amazing. Singapore, of course, was fine, but this is what I want to bring your attention to. So Singapore is a Verstappen weekend where he does well. He came 2nd place, but they only got 47 points because Perez did so bad. Now, the reason I say that is because Verstappen looks like he could potentially do even better this weekend. However, Perez looks like he could do even worse. So you just have to take that into consideration where if Verstappen gets 50 points, Perez might only get 5 to 15 points, and then you're getting the same amount of points that McLaren would be getting, Ferrari or Mercedes would be getting, and then all of a sudden you've wasted 5 million of your money where you could have been getting in Verstappen as an actual driver. Honestly, it's one of those things where we're back to the interesting times where I think it's safer to have Verstappen as a driver than actually Red Bull as a constructor, if you know what I mean. Would you do a final fix? Oh, sorry, I've lost that. Would you do a final fix, Piastri, Norris? My other premium driver is Sainz and Russell. No, honestly, Pedro, I would stick with it and just hope for the best because Piastri is looking like he could have a decent sprint race and then let's see what he does in a race. But with Norris, say Norris was pole position, he looked like he was going to win it. Now, Norris does look like he has a lot of pace. He just screwed up his lap. He even said so. And I mean, if you watched the sprint quali as well, you would see he was on time with Sainz and Verstappen. And then in the final sector, he lost like 2 or 3 tenths. I generally don't know what happened there because I haven't seen a replay of it. But it's one of those things where, because he's not adamantly on pole, I would say just stick with the Piastri and hope that he gets a lot of overtake and positions gain points. You never know, he could get 1 point for getting 8th place. I don't think the sprint race is long enough for that. And I do think there'll be probably a few trains coming along. I believe, in my opinion, it's going to be the top 5, Hulkenberg bringing up the rest of the field, with then Colapinto breaking off and bringing up the rest of the field. So it's going to be a little bit more challenging than we think for Piastri to get up there. Hope Sainz wins this weekend. Honestly, I won't be too mad if Sainz wins, because I do like him. Of course, he used to be a McLaren boy, but that is wishful thinking, Hussein. It is very much wishful thinking. Right, Michael, yes. Hello, my man. Let me ask you, with Oscar out of place and Lando a bit slow in spring, why not use 3 times when we have places to gain to maximize? So, you can do this. It's just, it really depends where you are in F1 Fantasy. So, let me show you my league position. This is the reason I don't want to do it. So, if you're in the top 1,000-ish or near the top, like 2,000-3,000, I just think it's too risky. And considering we do speak about positions gains, all of these points that you could get from a sprint race, I mean, there's still a chance Piastri just qualifies 6th tomorrow and sits in 6th and then gets no more points than anyone else, than Leclerc, who got 3rd place in both the sprint race and the race. I just think there's too many unknowns for such a big chip. I can't stress this enough, that 3 times. If you got 3 times right, just again, let's go back to China. I know no one could afford it at China, but if you got 3 times right on China, you would have got, let's do the maths here, you would have got 174 points alone from Verstappen, and then you would have got 80 points from Perez. So what's that? 174 plus 80 is, 174, 20, 264 points, if my maths is correct. Something about 264 points. Now, I don't think, and that's, bear in mind, and that's a race where Verstappen just dominated, getting basically every point on offer. I do believe, actually, he didn't even get fastest lap in China as well. So it just goes to show, if you have a really big lead on a race, it doesn't even matter about the position gains points sometimes in F1 Fantasy. And that's why I'm a little bit worried, because if we then go to a Qatar or a Brazil and Norris looks absolutely dominant and he gets like 60 points, instantly it's a better 3 times than anything else we've used at COTA, you know what I mean? Right, yeah, Lannister, please can you help me with a team? Low budget, 122.7 million. Yeah, let's use the team calculator for the first time of this live stream. I'll close that vote in about 5 minutes, I'm saying. Oh my god, it's not going to let me do it. No, there we go. 122.7. I believe it's going to be a team of Norris and Russell from the looks of things. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Yeah, there you go. That is probably the sort of team you'd want to go for. I'm trying to look if there's anything else. What happens if you don't use Mercedes as a constructor? Because Mercedes as a constructor is fine this weekend from the looks of things. They don't look anything too crazy. So you'd go over to... Yeah, no. You wouldn't want to... You could use McLaren and Ferrari instead. It's up to your preference, honestly. It's the exact same team, but McLaren Ferrari or McLaren Mercedes. For me, I'd go for the McLaren Ferrari one because there's not much difference in Bottas and Zhou. So yeah, for me, I'd go for this team right here. 122.1 million. And it's a decent team to catapult off because Albon and Colapinto could still get you decent points. You wouldn't want to go for a single premium driver team. I do not think that's going to get you that many points. Is taking a -10 to swap Albon for Lawson worth it? No. So let's go over why it's not worth it. So basically, in F1 Fantasy, let's go back over to my not optimal teams, race results. The cheap drivers rarely get over 10 points. So even in a sprint race weekend, it's risky just doing that. I clicked on race results. Don't know what it's doing. So it's one of those things where it's just still too much of a risk. And even if it worked out, you'd get 5 points and your driver might have already got 5 points. So let's look at USA, yeah? Look at the cheap drivers. So Zhou, 20 points. Jesus. I do not remember Zhou getting that many points. Tsunoda, 23 points. Zhou, 20. That would have been Ricciardo, 16. But you see what I mean? Like, they all got around 10, 23 points. So say you had a good weekend and dropped, let's say you had Hulkenberg, but you changed him to Tsunoda. You get equal points from that -10, so there's no reason to do it. And that's from the top driver to one of the middle drivers of the weekend. That's why I don't think it's worth it. But, right, let's see what else we can talk about. Locked in, double Haas, double Williams, and Leclerc with McLaren and Ferrari. Is that any good? Infinity, right. So I'm trying to remember your team value. So locked in, double Haas is good. I mean, Magnussen's very expensive, but if you're going for single premium driver, which is what it looks like you've done, is fine. Double Williams, good as well. It's honestly, I've seen worse. Infinity, all I would have changed is I would have used Lawson instead of Magnussen because of the 10-place grid penalty. But bar that, it's a decent team for the single premium drivers. So can't be complaining too much. Yeah, Lannister, yeah, good stuff, man. But yeah, so if people do think Russell's the better option, Canada ruined me. I got like 30 points. Yeah, I know, sweet Jesus. I mean, let's look at how many points I got in Canada. Bear in mind, I'm pretty sure I got away quite comfortably in Canada. No! Oh. Yeah, no. Canada was a weekend to forget. And that's exactly right. This brings up perfectly. Oh, Tommy! My word, I hope I haven't left that for a long time. Thank you so much, Tommy. I appreciate it so much. Tommy, this is the guy, man. I love this guy. No problem, man. You're the. I fucking love this guy, man. That is too kind, honestly. $10 and all. That is too kind. Thank you so much for appreciating the videos. I'm happy that I'm just happy that you love them as well. Because obviously, I like making the videos, but it's also so great having the community and just being able to help everyone out as well. F1 Fantasy and even just F1 videos as well. So that means so much to me, Tommy. Thank you so much. Yeah, 13 likes as well. Jeez Louise, everyone's loving it. How will your team be? Right, oh yeah, so there you go, by the way. That was my Canada team. Let's not talk about Canada, please. That Canada result, yeah, brought me from top 150 in the world to, I believe, in the top, I dropped to like 2,800 or something. It was horrible. Yeah, so my team's going to look like this for anyone who wants to know. I'm pretty adamant on how it's going to look because I can't afford to have the Verstappen teams. So it was never much of an issue for me. But double Sauber for one weekend purely to get Oscar Piastri points because I think he's going to do decently. Let's see how it goes, you know what I mean? Right, so here is my biggest prediction. So this is from Jelov. Oscar will not finish inside the P10 and will not... Yeah, that's exactly what I said, innit? I said it's still a risk having Piastri. If you're not using any of the big chips, though, why not? I'm going to autopilot because I think Oscar Piastri, if Norris doesn't win, could outscore him as well, though. Best Limitless team. Yeah, let's go back over to Limitless. So we all agreed... Well, it was 59 to 41% agreed on the Limitless team, but... Well, not Limitless team, but Sainz over Russell. No, Russell over Sainz. Jeez Louise. But it'd be Verstappen 2 times with Norris, Leclerc, Piastri. Where's my boy Russell? McLaren and Ferrari. Now, the reason I think I put Red Bull. I might have put Red Bull and then changed it to Ferrari because Perez, I just think, isn't good enough. He's just really bad at the minute, and I really do think it's going to be detrimental to that. Right. Thomas, I have Norris, Piastri, Colapinto, Albon, Zhou, and McLaren, Ferrari. Should I swap anything? From the looks of things, you're living life, my dude, because Norris and Piastri is a decent option. I would say, though, Jelov, you potentially... No, not Jelov, sorry, Thomas. I would say if you dropped Albon to Bottas, is there a way, if you have free transfers, you could potentially get to the Verstappen-Russell team, which is quite a nice differential. But we'll see how it goes. I'm still a little bit iffy about that team. Hey, Michael, and then Michael's the goat as well. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm guarantee everyone knows on this channel by now because every time you don't know, it's every time this guy comments. This guy has been around. I've had this channel for about 3-ish years. Michael's been around since what? 50 subs, maybe even less. This guy is the OG of the Zach F1 channel, and I just can't thank you enough, man. I can't thank all of you enough because I appreciate it so much, all of you giving me so much support. I'm actually 1 sub away from 1,590. I might have got it by now. We'll see what happens. But Albon and Lawson, given both are near at the back, I can afford either. I would go for Lawson because Albon's only at the back for the sprint quali, isn't he? So, yeah, he could get a lot of points in the sprint quali. But I think I don't think so. There are more points up for grabs in the actual race. So I think it's worth risking it going for the Lawson -10 and then him doing the exact same Albon could do in the sprint because there's more points on to offer, yeah. Righty-o. Yeah, Tommy. Yeah, I mean, hang on. Where's my phone? Where did I put my phone? I might have hit it already. Oh, jeez, Louise. I don't know where my phone is. Ah, there it is. Hang on. Let's see if I've hit it, actually, to be fair. Natalie says, I'm thinking to not make any changes and save up a transfer for next week. Norris, Russell, Colapinto, Zhou, Bottas with McLaren and Ferrari. Yeah, so you're in a situation where what's it called? Where you can't really move up anywhere just yet, Natalie. So I fully agree that you shouldn't do too much. 100% free transfers for Mexico. I would honestly say then do 2 free transfers and save an extra one for, what's it called? For Brazil, because then that's another sprint race coming up and we'll see exactly what's happening there. Right, Nicolaus. Hello, Zach. I have Norris ×2, Sainz, Albon, Bottas, Colapinto, McLaren, Ferrari. I think that's McLaren, yeah. With free swap, 0.9 budget, and autopilot. Any suggestions? So you've got Norris and Sainz. I wouldn't autopilot with Norris. Oh, my bad, Natalie. Also, I wouldn't autopilot with Norris and Russell because I don't think Russell's going to get as many points as Piastri. And I think that's too risky if it's Norris and Russell. I only think you should autopilot if you have sort of teams. Well, to be fair, if you have an extra DRS as well, you should Verstappen Norris it. But if you had Verstappen and Norris, autopilot that. If you have Norris Piastri, autopilot that. And if you have Norris and Leclerc, autopilot that. But also, yeah, you're probably 3 times instead if you had Verstappen and Norris. Good to hear. All the way from Argentina, my guy. Yeah, I hope Franco Colapinto has a good race as well. I can't believe how good he's come onto the scene. He is so good. He just came out of nowhere. I'm so sad he's not going to be at Williams, of course. But, hey, I don't think it's going to happen where he goes to Sauber. It's a pipe dream of mine that he goes to Sauber. I'd be surprised. But I hope it's going to be a Lawson situation where, say, a seat comes up, boom, he's in. Hopefully. We'll see how it goes. Charles or I always said Piastri. Bumba, I would go with Piastri 100%. Let me just double check something. Hey, yeah, good stuff. We hit it. 1,590. Good stuff. My bad. Nicholas, that is my bad. Right. So for you, again, similar situation. That's why I went back to it, innit? Norris and Sainz, I wouldn't autopilot. I don't think Sainz is a good enough proposition to autopilot off. Then, what else is going on with your team? Bottas, Colapinto, McLaren, Ferrari, 3 swaps. I would honestly just drop Albon down to Zhou and try to bring up, if you can, I don't know if that gives you enough money. So Sainz is 2. No, it's not enough money. Oh, you're in a sticky situation there then. I would honestly just stick with what you've got, or hear me out, Nicholas, you could have a decent little cheeky look of doing something like this. So let's say we've got your team here. You could go for something like this instead. Leclerc Piastri instead. It's very risky, but hey, on a race weekend where Norris doesn't look definite to win, why not go for something like that? But yeah, I wouldn't autopilot. Yeah, Colapinto is great. Yeah, I love that guy, man. Yeah. I have all chips other than Limitless. If any chip for me to use here with Norris plus Russell. Okay. Okay, yes. That's a bit of a pickle then. Because I wouldn't use extra DRS. I think that's completely off the cards for you with Norris and Russell. Autopilot is not the best, but I could see why it would be a better option there. I know I have just been slating Limitless, but it might be Limitless in your situation if you've got too many chips, because no matter what, you have to use a chip. So it might be Limitless and try to Verstappen 2 times then. Right. Right, what do we have? What's a lineup for us broke boys at 119.7 million? I do believe I'm going to come over here and get the team calculator up, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be it'll probably be a McLaren Mercedes with Piastri and Russell or something like that. We're about to see it. 100% it's McLaren Mercedes. Oh, no. See, this is why we've got to be careful on the team calculator sometimes. Jeez Louise. Because everyone in the chat, I think, can fully agree. If you go for a team like this, you're asking to have your heart broken. Do not go for that. Let's get rid of Red Bull as a constructor there. Right. Come on. Surely it goes to Mercedes. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I thought a team would look like. And that is the sort of team I would go for. Because you get your 2 premium drivers. And like I keep stating, it's not a weekend where Leclerc or Piastri or Norris look like they're going to be top. Or they could be, but you know what I mean? Like, we don't know a definite answer, so it's worth the risk of having 2 premium drivers that could still do decent. Piastri times 2 is a little bit scary. You could always just do the safe option and times 2 Russell. But hey, live life on the edge. I do like that a little bit. I see. Right. Would you use autopilot or no negative with Norris and Piastri? I would use autopilot, Simon, purely because no negative. We don't get a lot of crashes out here. I would only use. I said it was an option in my video that you could use no negative if you have Piastri, and by all means, it's not a bad option. It's just remember Brazil's coming up next, and if you have no negative. No negative's my top for Brazil, because my God, that's so much chaos. I mean, Leclerc didn't even start the race last time. I mean, I don't want to break Ferrari's hearts or bring up bad memories again, but yeah, I think we all remember Leclerc crashing out on this formation lap, which wasn't very nice. Sweet, right. Do you see Piastri gaining plus or minus 5 overtakes in the sprint? Yeah, because he's starting 16th. I see him finishing 11th, 12th minimum. Getting into the top 10 would be a bit of an ask, but obviously you're not getting points for top 10, so it doesn't really matter. So getting into the top 8 is not happening, but I do think he'll be able to. Because let's head back over to here and look at the results. Not the results. Well, technically it is. Because I want to show you exactly why I think it's fine. So, you've got Oscar Piastri. Liam Lawson, he's not going to be an issue. Completely not an issue to get past. Fernando Alonso, he's a good driver, but in that Aston Martin, I'm not too worried about it. Lance Stroll, again as well. Not too worried about it. Pierre Gasly in that Alpine. We've seen Esteban Ocon, only 17th. Again, he can overtake him. It's when you get to 11th with Red Bull where I think the train's going to properly start. And then he's going to have issues. So 12th, I could easily see him getting to. And that's 8 points. Bear in mind, you only get 8 points for coming first place. So all of a sudden, he's getting the same amount of points as Verstappen's getting. And he's cheaper. Yeah, so that's why I think it's worth looking into Piastri. Norris Piastri with McLaren Merc, then yeah, 100%. Ferrari, if you have the budget for it, like you said, but if you don't have the budget for it, Mercedes and Ferrari aren't going to be that much of a difference this weekend, I don't think. So I don't think it's anything worth going towards. Right. Why autopilot if running Norris and Piastri? Well, that's exactly why. Because Norris, normally, on a weekend like Singapore, we looked and we knew he was going to be the 2 times driver. It wasn't worth doing. Also, it wasn't a sprint race. But on a weekend like this, where Norris isn't definitely going to get a lot of points, he could get like 20, 30 points, and then all of a sudden, you've got that on your 2 times. Whereas Piastri, Piastri could get a lot of points in a sprint race and then have like 5 to 10 points more than Norris if he just sticks with Norris in the race. Like, say they come 3rd or 4th in the race, Piastri comes 4th, he's getting more points than Norris overall. And then all of a sudden you've missed out on, because it's ×2 of course, so technically you've missed out on like 2 to 5 points, but that could then be 4 to 10 points that you miss out on. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but everything is so precise in F1 Fantasy. You need to be very careful with how you use them. But right, why did Lance, Fernando and Lawson DNF? So basically with this, they set times, but their lap times got deleted. So technically, I believe they just put it as that because they didn't set a time. Although, actually, to be saying that, let's have a look at Saudi Arabia qualifying. Yeah, the same thing goes whenever someone doesn't set a lap. I believe in F1, they just put it as a DNF on the next one. Right, so if I do autopilot this race, I plan to no negative in Brazil. Don't you think it's a bit risky leaving extra DRS? So yes, so Napoleon, it is very risky leaving it to the last race. But I would argue it's just as risky using it this race weekend where it's such an unknown. I'd say it's even more risky because, hey, if there's a DNF in Qatar, that's obviously a shame that it happens, but there's nothing you can do about it. But you know, the only issue that could happen from your 3 times is we get the exact same situation that's happened here in Qatar. And then you're thinking, oh, well, the same thing happened in COTA. Okay, I just use it now because it's the final time. So the risk you're taking is that just another situation like this happens, which is why I think it's not too risky doing something like that, if you catch my drift. Right, what kind of team would you make with 126.5 million and autopilot and DRS chip? Any recommendations? Ooh, with 126, can you afford Verstappen? I can't remember exactly how much money I've got. No, you can't afford Verstappen, I don't think. No. No, you wouldn't want to 3 times with Verstappen Russell. And then you said you had autopilot, correct? Yeah, autopilot. I'd stick to something similar I've got, but I believe you could just have Albon. Yeah, I believe you could have double Williams instead, and have Zhou and then McLaren and Ferrari. Yeah, you could have that, I believe. Wait, did you say you had 26? Oh, geez, you might just not have enough. 126.5 and I had, yeah, you just don't have enough, so you could bring in Mercedes instead. But McLaren and Mercedes with Albon, Colapinto, Norris, Piastri, that would be completely fine to autopilot on. Righty ho, yeah, I'm loving this in the chat as well. Please, by all means, help each other out as well, because obviously I tried to get to all of the questions and answer them as quickly as possible and all of this bollocks. But of course, sometimes I miss out questions. So yeah, help each other all out on the chats, because I go through quite a bit, but a lot of the stuff I go through, it's similar, and a lot of people who have been in the chat quite a bit on any of my other live streams, you'll see that, what's it called? That I've spoken about it before anyway. But right, yeah, John, yes, if you can't afford that, go to the Mercedes. But right, okay, Norris, Piastri, McLaren, Ferrari versus Verstappen, Sainz, Mercedes, Ferrari. Holy, that is a difficult one, and that's the one I will answer in a second, but I'm going to start a poll for that. So Norris, Piastri, or and Sainz. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying Verstappen, Sainz. I generally think Verstappen and Sainz. Oh, no, but do I? No, because then Piastri. Oh, but Verstappen looks good. Jeez, it's a tough one. That is so tough. It's such a 50-50 option. Because Verstappen looks really good this weekend, and I fully agree with what you mean, Simon. But then Sainz, I don't think's out going to perform Norris, Piastri, or any of those lot. And then, oh, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Well, we're going to find out in the thing. I would say, it's a 50-50. I would say do it. I would say if you got the Verstappen 2 times, you're sitting quite pretty this weekend. I'm going to say do it. Oh my God, I've gone against the grain. Right. Zhou plus Ferrari versus Tsunoda versus Mercedes. With Norris, Russell, Colapinto. What do you think? Ooh. Zhou or Ferrari, Tsunoda, Mercedes. I honestly, if you've got the chips to change them, I would go Tsunoda, Mercedes, yeah. Although, actually, no. Not Tsunoda. Hear me out. No. If you can afford Tsunoda, you can afford, where's my boy? You can afford Lawson, and he's got a 10-place grid penalty. So he's a much better option than Tsunoda right now. So I'd actually go Tsunoda, Lawson, Mercedes. Drop Norris for Leclerc. It's one of those weekends where if you did do it, I'm not gonna complain. And let's have a look what would happen if I say I did it. Let's say, so Bottas, bring him back in. Bring back Ferrari. Let's say I brought in Leclerc. You know what the issue is? I would say no to this purely because who are you bringing in else? All you're doing is potentially bringing in Lawson. And I think you're putting yourself in a sticky situation come a race that McLaren qualify a lot better at or just perform better at. And I would say no. I'd say no because it doesn't affect the rest of your team enough for me. Righty-o. Where were we? Okay, Andy. Where do I use my extra DRS budget? Verstappen, Norris, Red Bull, Ferrari. Not extra DRS, my extra budget. Verstappen to Norris, Red Bull to Ferrari, or better C drivers, Lawson and Albon or triple McLaren. Honestly, Andy, I would go Verstappen instead of Norris, but I wouldn't get rid of... Yeah, I wouldn't bring in Red Bull over Ferrari, though. I would go Verstappen, keep Ferrari, and then increase one of your drivers to Lawson if you can, or Albon to Lawson, or if you couldn't afford... Tsunoda to Lawson. So, yeah, I'd go Norris to Verstappen, and then Tsunoda to Lawson for me. With Verstappen and Sainz, you lose the Constructor. Oh, no, so this is purely if... you don't lose Constructor with Verstappen and Sainz. That's, I should mention that. If you can afford Verstappen, Sainz with the likes of McLaren and Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, that's what I'm getting at, yeah. Hey man, should we consider having a B tier asset for Lawson overtakes and A tier upgrades? So, it's one of those things where I don't think it's worth it at the minute, purely because I think I made a short about it where all of the premium drivers, no matter what, I'm going to go back to my trusty race results because you're going to see it in China, Miami, a lot of the other races, actually not Miami, I don't think, because of Norris crashing out. Where was he? So look, here in China, yeah, Look at the big drivers. All of them got... Look at the gap between Russell, who didn't even have a great weekend, yeah, to Magnussen, who's the top middle driver. And I just think that that gap is so big, it's worth increasing. Let's say you increased... Because look, let's say you had Zhou and Leclerc. You're getting 34 plus 20, which was... No, 33 plus 20, which is 53. Then if you increase Zhou to Magnussen and brought in Russell instead... no, my bad. It was 34 and 13. My bad. I was looking at Miami. 34 and 13, 47 compared to Magnussen and Russell, who got 44. So it's one of those things where I don't think upgrading your B tier assets is worth it. It's better to get the premium drivers in more. Okay, right. Lawson it is then. Yes, Lawson I do think's the way to go. Especially, it's Hulkenberg and Lawson if you are going for B tier assets. Like the C tier premium assets. You know, Hulkenbergs, the Magnussens, the Ocons. The players over 10 million, between 10 million and 15 million. Yeah, meant B tier. Oh, yeah, my bad. If you're talking about the like Leclerc's and Sainz, yeah, then 100% they're worth it. Ultimate team with 122.9 million. I believe it's going to be a team with Norris and Russell. It's probably going to give you, which I couldn't complain about. But I do believe potentially you could bring in Leclerc and Piastri with that money. Could you bring in Leclerc and Piastri? No, you can't. Let's see what happens when you get rid of Norris. Russell, I mean. Because Russell I do like as a premium driver. He's not too bad this weekend. No, you can't do anything. Okay, yeah, it's 100%. What happens when you take out Norris? Because I think it's just going to... I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. What the hell? Calculate. Piastri Sainz. Yeah, if it was Piastri Leclerc, fair enough. But no, there's not too much of a difference. So I would go stick with Norris and get Russell for your 122.9 million. And then, yeah, it depends on what else you can afford. So probably McLaren and Ferrari as your constructors. And then you'd probably get the likes of Albon, Colapinto, and one of the Saubers most likely. Hey, potentially if you could afford Lawson as well. Right, Simone ask if I don't know if I should use the extra DRS this week. Team is McLaren, Ferrari, Norris, Russell. Yeah, I wouldn't. I just don't think. Just remember that Russell gets you 2 times as well, and I don't think he's a 2 times driver. It's simple as that. Yeah. Would you do McLaren, Ferrari, Norris, Sainz, or Ferrari, Mercedes, Norris, Piastri? I would do Ferrari, Mercedes, Norris, Piastri. I don't think there's going to be too much of a difference between the constructors this weekend. Right. Is it valid to transfer out Norris to Piastri to get those juicy overtake points and then final fix? Oh, you know what? Ooh, I like that. Okay. I'm going to pin that because that's a really good comment. I didn't even think about this. I didn't even think about talking about final fix because that is a very good option, actually. You could save yourself a lot of points from that. You'd also get quite a bit of team value difference if Piastri did have a good weekend. Now, I do think it's a waste of a chip at a sprint race weekend because you'd want to be using anything. You want to use at least one of the autopilot, no negatives, limitless or extra DRS, no matter what here. So it's a bit of a waste of a space, but if you've already used most of them, and say you only have 1 or 2 chips left, and you've got Brazil and Qatar to go to, once you've used Final Fix, that's a really interesting option, and I quite like the sound of that. That's a really smart move, actually. Yeah, very smart move. Right, should I use chips with the 122.9 million team? So I would use chips in the way of you could use an autopilot for that team quite comfortably with Piastri and Russell. But I wouldn't extra DRS it. You could also use Limitless because then you save yourself from having to run a poorer team than the rest. But that's about it for me. Oh, and no negative potentially because of Piastri starting so far back. But we don't get too many crashes here, so I'd be surprised. Okay, right. Andy. So Verstappen, Piastri, Albon, Colapinto, Bottas, McLaren, Ferrari, or Norris, Piastri, Lawson. I would go with Verstappen, Piastri, Albon, Colapinto, Bottas, McLaren, and Ferrari. Andy, I'd go for the first option 100%. Okay, A from Mickey. It is Norris, Sainz, Hulkenberg, or B, Norris, Piastri, Bottas. Because Hulkenberg is a decent option, but I think Piastri's going to get similar points. Not as in like to Hulkenberg, but Piastri's going to get a lot of more points than Sainz, I think. Okay, I would go for B, Norris, Piastri, Bottas, 100%. I've stuck with it. I'm going with it. I'm sending it. Okay, Nicholas asks again. Zach, Leclerc, Russell, Albon, Hulkenberg, Colapinto, McLaren, Ferrari. Is it very beautiful? Leclerc, Russell, Albon. It's better than the single premium driver teams. I will 100% give you that. I just think that it's worth getting rid of those middle cheap drivers, because you could drop Albon and Hulkenberg and bring in you could bring in Norris and Leclerc if you dropped Albon and Hulkenberg, and I think that would 100% be worth it more. Okay, right. Thank you. I don't think I can make a better team with a budget of 121.6 million. I can't remember exactly what I told you to do. Oh yeah, right. No, that's fine. Yeah. So just don't worry about the extra DRS this weekend then, if you can't make a better team. Budget of 126.4 million. I believe that's going to be a very similar team to what I'm running, which will be a Norris Piastri build, probably with McLaren Ferrari. But I believe you can bring in Albon instead of Bottas, potentially. It will be close, though. We'll see exactly how that works. But then we have Simon. Ferrari, Zhou versus Mercedes Albon. Mercedes Albon. Because actually, you know what? This is the next one. This is the next poll. Mercedes or Ferrari? Because I really do think it's a tie game. And it doesn't matter too much which one you get at the minute. By the way, everyone, I'm going to be locking in my team in about 20 minutes. Because I'm pretty satisfied with my team. The only thing I'm not satisfied with, which I'll talk about more, is if I'm using autopilot or not, because I haven't made up my mind yet on that. But we'll see exactly what happens. Right. By when should we stop focusing on budget to get Norris Leclerc teams for free times? You can start doing that about now. Purely because, like I mentioned, this team I'm running this weekend, 100%, I was expecting to use my free times this week. I was fully committing to going, okay, I think Norris Piastri probably 3 times, then 2 times Piastri. But then obviously McLaren just didn't look as good, and now I'm thinking, no, it's too risky. So I do think when you get to that situation, don't worry about the budget anymore, because we're at that point of the season now where you can't change your budget too much now. Focus on getting those big premium driver teams in. Even if you get stuck in a double Sauber rut, if that's the best you're going to get, you need to just start getting points in, because we've only got 6 races left, and a lot of the chips, like extra DRS, like Limitless, extra DRS, you only need to have 2 good premium drivers on your team. Limitless, it doesn't matter what your team is. Autopilot, you need to have 2 premium drivers on it, so you need to focus on having the best 2 premium drivers in your team left. Ferrari is the last jump to get 25 limit. Oh, yes. That's the thing. I don't think they're getting 1 million this weekend anyway, so it's not too bad. So it won't matter too much. And then, hey, if you do want a bit more budget afterwards, you could drop down to Mercedes and see what happens there. But I'd be surprised if it matters too much now. Budget does help, but we were thinking about budget, even a few races ago. But there's only, 3/4 of the season left to go. There's just not enough time yet to be focusing purely on budget. Of course, you still want these 0.5 million increases because, of course, having Zhou instead of Albon is detrimental. You could have Albon and Hulkenberg instead and help out your team. But I think by the time you get to that point at the end of this season, you'd have noticed, okay, I've sort of just wasted my time trying to get all of this budget, and I should have been focusing on the bigger points that were on offer. Now, the Limitless team that I've been looking at looks a little like this. I'll show you all right now. Am I? Yeah, I thought I was zoomed in a bit. Actually, I think it's quite nice, to be fair. Zoomed in that far. Right, it is McLaren Ferrari as the Constructors. Again, not much in it between Mercedes, but when there's no points on for offer. The reason I'm not doing Red Bull, like I mentioned, is because Red Bull, they've got Perez, and so basically Verstappen could get 50 points. Perez is probably only going to get 5 to 15, and then the rest of the constructors are going to get the exact same amount of points, and you're just on a Limitless. Maybe it's worth the risk, but I still don't think it is. Then you got Verstappen as your 2 times, Norris, Leclerc, Piastri, and then I think Russell, but purely just because I saw how good he was in qualifying. It's very close. It's very close to knowing exactly what to do for that 5th driver, but because it's the 5th driver, it doesn't matter too much. You could put in Sainz and you'd only lose 5 points if he does worse. You could put in Hamilton, you're only going to lose 5 points. It's the same for all of them. However, if you put in Perez, you're asking to lose points. But yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah, okay, so people do believe Ferrari's still the better option. Yeah, I still think I'm on Team Ferrari, because obviously if I wasn't Team Ferrari, I probably would be. I mean, I don't have free transfers. I could do something like this, where I go down to Mercedes and then where is he? Go for something like this, but obviously I don't have enough free transfers to do that. Plus, I still do think Ferrari's just a little bit better. Okay, right. Thank you, Pedro, man. Thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it, man. Right. I like your suggestions with Piastri and Leclerc and Norris and Sainz. Out Norris, Sainz. Thanks. Enjoy the race. Yeah, no problem, Nicolas. Hope you enjoy it. Yeah, we've got a good race on our hands. Well, sprint race. So technically, hey, I mean, I did say for a long time Piastri when he won it. Technically, he won a race. So if Verstappen does win it, hey, I'll give him it. He's technically won a race for the first time in donkeys, but we'll see what happens. Right, Sean asked, Max, Red Bull, Ferrari is the play at the weekend, I think. So I agree Max is the play, but I don't think Red Bull is. Perez is just too bad at the minute. He's not getting you enough points. Let me go back to these race results to just show you exactly what's going to happen. Because Singapore was bad, and it's going to be worse than Singapore, 100%. Right, so Singapore... no, not the worst teams. Sorry. Singapore, Perez got 9 points. Even if Verstappen gets 50 points this weekend, they're only getting 59 points as a constructor. McLaren, Mercedes, and Ferrari can all get more of that. All can get more than that purely by just having 2 competent drivers. It's crazy. That's why I think Max is the go-to move for your 2 times if you can afford him and Norris. If you can afford only Verstappen and a Russell, I don't think it's worth it, because then you could have a Norris Piastri. It's one of those things where it's flip-flop. I'm going to stick with Norris Piastri, but hey, it very much could become a thing where Verstappen was the play. Right. Norris, Russell, Albon versus Norris, Sainz, Zhou. Norris, Russell, Albon. I don't think there's much of a difference between Russell and Sainz. I do think there's a big difference between Russell and Sainz compared to Piastri. Okay, so currently McLaren, Ferrari, Norris, Sainz, Zhou, Colapinto, Albon. Worth -10 to swap for McLaren, Mercedes, Norris, Piastri. I would say no, because I just think the constructors aren't worth using a -10 to switch over for. And I get that Piastri is going to bring in a lot of points, but I don't think it's more than 10 points than Sainz is going to bring in. So even though Piastri is the better option, I don't think it's more than the 10 points that you're going to take out to bring them into your team, if you get my gist. Considering also them Mercedes, I do think are going to get a few less points than Ferrari, so I think it's just going to equal out. Right, Austin. Hey, they racing at you, my dude. I am running Norris, Albon, Colapinto, and Bottas with McLaren, Ferrari, but I'm torn between Leclerc and Piastri on the final spot. Any thoughts? I would go Piastri. Right, the reason for this is because Leclerc, he could win, he might not, but I don't think in third place, I'm not too optimistic. Like, there wasn't anything terrible about his lap. It just wasn't the greatest lap, but there wasn't anything like Norris where we saw it was a terrible lap from him. So it's a sort of McLaren could have a little bit more pace, which is where Piastri comes into play, because if Norris and Piastri have a lot more pace than they've shown, then Piastri could get up to 10th, 11th, 12th in the sprint race, get a lot of points there, and then a lot more elsewhere, which I think will end up being more than Leclerc. Lawson or Albon, I'd go for Lawson. So actually, Michael put up before that who should I go, because they're both starting at the back basically, or at one race and different race. So Albon's starting close to the back, so he'll get maybe up to 14th, 15th in the sprint race, which would be good for him. However, Lawson's starting at the back of the actual race, and there's more points up for grabs there, and he could then get up to, again, 14th, 15th, but that's more because Albon's only starting at 18th, not 20th. So you've got to be really careful with that. I think Lawson's the way to go. Is this a good race for Limitless? So it's not my favourite option, but with everything going on, it's by far better than extra DRS if you can afford... if you can't afford the Verstappen Norris teams. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Siet. Thank you so much. I love the support on this. And I love doing these live streams, honestly. When was the last... the last live stream would have just been 3-ish weeks ago for the last race. I know they fly so fast as well. I've already been live for almost an hour. Jeez Louise, you know what I mean? Yeah, Lannister. I know he is due a DNF, but I think half the grid, half the top teams are because, well, actually, bar Mercedes. Who else? Verstappen's due a DNF. He hasn't had one for a while. When was Leclerc's last DNF? Canada, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, it is Piastri, but hey, yeah, no jinxing around here. It's not going to happen. No negative is fine also if you have Piastri in your team, but I do think it's a better option at Brazil. My team can only afford one premium. Should I go Lando or Max? Aaron, I would go with Max then. If you can only afford a single premium driver, this is the sort of team you'd probably look at. So I believe with a single premium driver build, you probably have about, let's say you got 118, because that's probably about-ish what you got. It's going to show Norris, but I believe you should be having Verstappen instead. Because then also, you don't have any crappy Zhou. Oh, never mind. I just got rid of Verstappen instead. My bad. Let's see what it says, because I believe it's going to be very similar to exactly what I'm thinking. Yeah. Oh, whoa. Oh, it's gone back to 110. Why the hell did that happen? Oh, geez Louise, man. I know for a fact you can bring in Verstappen. Here he is. No, not Red Bull. Red Bull is not the constructor you want to bring in as a single premium driver team. Right, we're going to get there in the end, but it's McLaren Ferrari teams. There we go. There we go. Right, so you could have McLaren, Ferrari, Verstappen, Albon, Hulkenberg, Zhou and Bottas. However, I would... Actually, no. I would also not have Zhou, and I'd drop him down to Colapinto instead. And then potentially you could increase Albon to a Lawson. I believe if you have enough money to do that. So then you've got that sort of movement as well. Right. Yeah, I know. I hope he doesn't DNF. Jeez, it'll be so annoying if he DNFs. I can't be dealing with that. Right. Would you recommend a final fix chip after the sprint race to switch to Piastri from Norris? So yeah, I've actually pinned that message because it's not a bad option. It's just, I think it's a waste of a chip. It's still better to use... Like, I keep on slating extra DRS and saying you shouldn't be using it. But if you have, like, 4 chips left and you need to be using these in the sprint races, and I think Final Fix is one that you could use anywhere else on the calendar. So make the most of the sprint races while you can. So be careful with that sort of thing. Right, Norris 2 times with Sainz or Piastri 2 times with Sainz? I would go with Norris 2 times with Sainz because I do think McLaren have got more pace than they're showing. But... and also, I just think Piastri is too much of a risk. I do think Piastri is good if you want to go risky, and I do like a risk. That's why I'm going for it. But Piastri as your 2 times, that's a different story. Right, I have all chips other than Limitless. Any chips for me to use here with Norris plus Russell? Yes, right, Lannister. I believe we almost talked about that. So yeah, so I didn't like the idea of extra DRS. You've already used Limitless. Autopilot, I'm not the biggest fan of, but because you don't have Piastri, it'd most likely be an autopilot play. With a Limitless chip, who do you go for 2 times? I would go for Verstappen. Again, I'd show my Limitless team again for anyone who hasn't seen it, but I would go for Verstappen as the 2 times geezer. Where is that? So bim bam boom, boom bada bim bam boom, bada beep bap boo, boom boom bada bing. Bada boom, pow. There you go. And that's exactly what I'd do for Limitless for Fabio right there. Right. Norris, Russell, McLaren, Mercedes, or Piastri, Leclerc for Ferrari, Mercedes with autopilot. I would go with Norris, Russell. I still think that's a better option than Piastri and Leclerc. I'm not a big fan of that right now. But I think I'm getting very close to locking in my team. It's exciting times. Exciting. Where's Piastri? I don't like it when it does that. Where's Piastri? It needs to be... Yeah, there we go. I can't be having a team where it shows Bottas on the top tier of the things. No, I can't be having that. I know it doesn't change anything, but yeah, whatever. Russell over Hamilton in Limitless. Yes, yeah, I would do that, yeah. I'm using wildcard. What about Mercedes, Ferrari, Russell, Leclerc, Lawson, Bottas, Colapinto? I would just be a little bit careful when you're looking at wildcarding. Like I said, final fix and wildcard you can use anywhere on any circuit. But on a sprint race, you need to be using either Limitless, Autopilot, No Negative, or Extra DRS. And with only 3 left, it's a little bit risky. I've just seen someone put something in the chat as well. I need to double check if that's correct. Give me 1 second. No, I don't have Twitter on this. It's on here. Let me double check if... Oh, also, Pedro, I'm happy you found the live stream. Where's F1? That will solidify if 100% Albon starting at the back of the grid. 18th. I'm seeing the sprint starting grids. I'm not seeing anything on it right now, but that was 17 hours ago. But also, I think if Albon was starting at the pit lane, I wouldn't use him anyway because it's such a short race. Then there's not enough time to make up enough space. I'd actually put less. I'd put less into using him if that happened. I can't see anything about Albon starting from the pit lane. Is that true, anyone? I couldn't see it on Twitter or on anything about the F1. And I can't see it on the... Let's go back to the US sprint grid. Oh, no, he is. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. That is completely true. I fully agree with what I just said, though. Because it's not a long enough race, I think with him starting at the back, that's actually even worse now. If he was starting 18th, 100% it would have been fine. But 20th and the pit lane, bear in mind, he's going to get out of the pits and have 5-ish seconds to Zhou. Now, he will most likely take Zhou and Bottas. But that's it. So, even though Albon's a good option, and I still think you should try to get him in if you can, that's a little bit more risky now. Okay, right. Right. Hey, Zach, I only have 119.6 million. I plan to use my free time chip. I just don't know which 2 drivers. I mean, with 119.6 million, that's the thing. I don't think you're going to get to a point where you can have like Norris Leclerc or Norris Piastri. So I think that's fine if you're in that sort of situation. But I would go with... Oh, geez, no. Is there no way you can push it back a little bit and try to have a weekend where you know you've got at least one of the top 2 drivers? Ziad. Because I just don't like having Piastri, Russell, Leclerc and Russell. All of them I don't think are 3 times drivers. If you catch my drift, you know what I mean? Okay, JS. Need help with my team. Have Norris, Yuki, Albon, Hulkenberg with McLaren and Ferrari. 5.5 million in the bank. Oh, a lot of money to play around with. Okay, so Norris, good. Yuki, swap to Lawson. Then you're good. Albon, good. Colapinto, good. Hulkenberg, good. With McLaren and Ferrari. However, if you've got 3 transfers, you could drop Yuki down to Zhou. Actually, could you? How much money do you have, JS, in your team? Because if you can afford to get to a Norris Russell from dropping Yuki down to Zhou and Albon down to Bottas, then do that. But if you can't, then yeah, change Yuki to Lawson, and then you're sorted. Autopilot, yeah. I'm probably going to be thinking about using that close enough. We'll see what happens because I'm very much probably going to be using it just because I need to be using it eventually. And hey, on a weekend like this where we don't know what's going to happen, I will most likely be using all of them. Oh, you have all 6 chips? Oh, geez, Louise. Then yeah. Then you've just got to start pushing them out then. Oh, actually... I would use Limitless then. Mate, I'd use Limitless if you had all 6 chips. Hey, Meletius, how you doing, man? Don't want your team, but switch Ferrari for Mercedes and Zhou or Bottas for Albon. Yeah, you could do that. Honestly, it's another move to go for. I think Piastri's going to score decently. That's why I'm doing that. But yeah, you could easily do something like that, and I think you could even with that selection. If you can afford to, it doesn't really matter about getting Gasly in, but you could do that and then bring in Lawson instead. Or even Hulkenberg. See, but the thing is, Brazil is very risky. There's a lot of DNFs. That's why you've got to be careful. Can't get Russell in with Norris, then 100%. Stick to what I said. Just bring in Lawson over Tsunoda. I would save no negative for Brazil instead, because there's going to be a lot of crashes, I think. Hey, Gustavo, nice to see you too again. Nissan Pointers, I have 119.7 million, and I have Norris, Hulkenberg, Magnussen, Colapinto, Albon, McLaren, and Ferrari. Any changes? Okay, so Norris, okay, yeah, that's fine. But honestly, I would say, Gustavo, decrease Magnussen down. Okay. I get what you mean then. I just think Sprint Race Weekend would be better for no negative, but I do see why you do it for Vegas. But yeah, sorry, right. Let me get back to Gustavo. I would say decrease Magnussen to Bottas if you can't afford anything else, and then increase Norris up to a Verstappen. But if you can decrease Magnussen down to Lawson and get Norris up to a Verstappen, then you're fine as well. Okay, Bottas has upgrades for this race. Oh my god. Wait, are you serious? I can't wait to watch Sauber come 17th instead of 18th. Yes. I do say that. I feel really bad for Sauber. How are they so bad? I really thought they'd have a better season. I didn't think they'd be amazing by all means, but their season last year wasn't too bad. And then, the Audi brand coming in. I know they're not there yet, but I thought, they've got to start pushing their team somewhere. But Audi at this point are going to take over the worst car on the grid. It's not looking good for them. Right, Piastri or Leclerc? Piastri. Did I? Yeah, I believe I did do one. Right, let me unpin this as well for now. Unpin message. Hey, Zach. Hi, Levan. Good to see you back. Currently have Norris, Sainz, Albon, Colapinto, Bottas. Similar to mine then, at the minute. I lost it. Hang on, there it is. Plus McLaren Ferrari. Do you think it's worth changing to Norris, Russell, Tsunoda, Colapinto, Bottas? Because who would you get rid of? No, I would get Lawson in instead of Tsunoda. So Norris, Russell, Lawson, Colapinto, Bottas would be worth it, Levan. But Tsunoda this weekend, definitely not worth it. Okay. Hey, mate, thinking to use Limitless. Currently have Norris, blah, 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 blah. I have to change Ricciardo. I could bring Verstappen with 2 moves. What do you think? So, yeah, you have to get rid of Ricciardo in your team, because even if you use Limitless, you'll still be getting his minus points for being... does he get minus points for being inactive now? I believe he does, yeah. But for anyone, again, coming in who's just joined, here is the Limitless team that you should be running. No Red Bull. Perez doesn't make it a good enough option. Verstappen 2 times. Norris, Leclerc, Piastri, Russell. Easy bloody peasy. I can switch Limitless this week. Then wildcard. Then 3 times in Brazil. Oh, okay, yeah. No, do that then, yeah. Do that, and then you're 100% fine. Because I'm still not the biggest fan of Limitless this weekend, because it's still a bit of an unknown. But it's nothing. It's not the craziest times. It's not the most ridiculous time to be using a Limitless. It's still a sprint race weekend, so you should be fine. Okay, right. What are we looking at? Oh, yeah, right. I could send Norris, Verstappen with McLaren, Haas. Oh, yeah, that's the thing. If it does get to that situation where you do need to just do that for the 3 times, it's fine. I understand why. It's just, wow. It's really going to hurt, because you're going to lose like 30-odd points from dropping from Ferrari to Haas. But yeah, right. What else do we need to do? Right, yeah, hang on. It is lock-in team time. So I would normally do it a bit later, but I generally think I'm ready to go. I'm not too confused about anything. I don't think I've been swayed by anything. So I think it's time to look at if I'm going to be using autopilot. And yeah, I'm most likely going to be using it. Right, here we go. So 2 out of 2, 0.8 million to go. Bim, bam, boom. Now, the reason I didn't lock in autopilot just yet is because you can do it now, like I said. But I'm going to give it a little bit. And I'm going to do some more questions. I'm going to keep on thinking about it. So, one more question. I have 3 chips available. Wildcard, Final Fix, and Autopilot. Oh, for this weekend, I'd use Autopilot then. Because Final Fix and Wildcard, you can use at any race. Wildcard doesn't really matter when you use it. It's not really a sprint race weekend chip that matters too much. And Final Fix, again, you can use that anywhere as well. No problem, Gustavo, man. No problem. By the way, sorry for yawning so much. It's just, yeah, I didn't sleep amazingly last night. But it is what it is. Right, should I go with Leclerc or Piastri? I would go with Piastri. Well, I've just locked it in as well, actually. So I would be, I'd be BSing you a bit if I went, go Piastri. I very much think it's Piastri. Russell or Sainz, if you can't afford Piastri, I'd go for Russell then. No, wait. Yeah, I did say Russell, yeah. 119.3 million from Yee. McLaren, Ferrari, Norris, Bottas, Zhou, Albon, Colapinto. So 11 whoa, that's a lot of money in the bank. 2 free transfers. Okay, 11.1 million. Holy damn, that's a lot of money. Okay, what can we do from that situation? Let's put it in the calculator, see what it says, because I already know what it's gonna say. And I don't agree. It's gonna put Red Bull as a constructor, and I may as well just instantly put no. I've taken it off being able to do that. Can you afford to have any teams with Norris? No, you can't. Yeah, most likely. I would try to get rid of Norris, drop down, and do exactly what this team's doing here. So how would you go across on doing that? So drop Norris to Piastri. You've only got 2 transfers, though. I see what you mean. You might be in a situation where actually you do go for Verstappen because you don't have enough transfers, and I don't think it's worth the -10. So actually, instead, you could increase Norris to Verstappen. No, you can't do that. Oh, yeah. No, but you've got 11.1 million in the bank. I would say get Verstappen in for Norris, and then get rid of Zhou and bring in Lawson. That's what I would do. There we go. There's your 2 free transfers. No problem, Raphael. Right, so I'm going to 3 times this week. Which driver convo? I only have 119.6 million. Piastri, Russell, Leclerc, Russell with McLaren, Ferrari, or Piastri, Sainz, Norris, Russell with McLaren. I would go with Norris, Russell with Mercedes, Ferrari. Because if you're doing 3 times, even though it's a little bit annoying not having McLaren, because potentially they could do well as a constructor, I think, of course, like I mentioned, it's more important to have those 2 good premium drivers. So Norris, Russell would be the way to go for your situation. Can you say what it is for and against using 3 times on Norris and Piastri? So, right, so reasons. So reasons for using 3 times this week is you know McLaren will still be all right. Piastri is most likely going to get a few points. Norris will still have a good race. I mean, it looks like they've still got a lot of race pace potentially. But the issue, and there's a lot of against, is Piastri might DNF trying to get up the field in the sprint quali. Norris isn't first place, so we don't even know if he's actually going to win the race, which you need that. We don't know if he's going to get fastest lap because he's not going to potentially be the fastest car. He won't get driver of the day if he doesn't win. Piastri won't get driver of the day if he doesn't win. It's just a lot of where they are right now, 16th and 4th. It's not really showing me 3 times worthy, and I know it's only the sprint race, but let's see what happens. Yes, right, yeah. I hope you enjoy the race as well. We're getting there, everyone. 24 minutes till the deadline. Start locking in your teams. I'm going to do what I've been putting off now. Oh no, what have I done? It's too late. Okay, autopilot is activated. There you go. He's done it. He's done it. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm a little bit worried about the autopilot, but I think it's worth it. You just have to use a chip at a sprint race. And I know I could have used it at Brazil, but at a race where Norris potentially might not be the top driver and Piastri might do better, I think this is worth it. Albon's starting from the sprint lane in the pit lane in the sprint. Yeah, so I just I found that out about 10 minutes ago, and I think that's a bit of an issue now because yes, he'll probably overtake both Bottas and Zhou, but how many laps is the sprint race? Has it actually been confirmed how many laps it's going to be? It's not going to be that many, and I don't think he's got enough time to get up for any higher than 18th, which isn't crazy. Also, Ferrari or Mercedes? Ferrari. I'd go for Ferrari. Russell or Sainz? I'd go for Russell. So Josh D, Russell, JS, Ferrari. Now, right, you're going to see, for everyone, if you don't follow me on Twitter, actually, hang on, let me bring this over here. This is my Twitter for anyone who wants to follow me over there. That's not my Twitter, that's the F1 Twitter. This is my Twitter. Thank you so much for following it, because I will be putting in, like you can see right now, where is it? My team. Is it that one? Yes, there we go. I'm putting in the team that I'm using right now. So, where is it? What am I going to put on this tweet? What should I put? I'm trying to put my thing down. Okay. I hope you can still hear me from here. Let's do that. Okay. Team is locked. Autopilot activated. Let's see how jeez Louise, this plays out. No idea who is going to win, but that just makes it, god damn it, makes it more interesting. Hashtag F1 fantasy. Oh yeah. Sure, hashtag F1 as well. Why not? Just because I put that in by accident. Right, everyone. Hopefully, everyone's starting to get their teams logged in. Yeah, thank you so much for liking the tweet. Right, let's bring that back off the screen so we can actually look at the F1 stuff. Right, get your final questions in because I can now fully focus on all of that. The teams are going. Okay, Albon, yeah, we know Albon's doing that. Worth taking Albon out for K-Mag. I don't think it's worth doing anything crazy like that just yet. Because, yes, Albon won't have an amazing race, but I do think Magnussen's not going to be anything crazy as well. He's going to finish 7th or 8th, and then he's just too expensive. Also, if you have that much money left over, you could use that elsewhere, I think, JS. Definitely, if you have that money left over. But, yeah. I hope everyone is getting all of their teams sorted out because remember, team deadline in 19 minutes. So we're getting close to it. And I mean, it's not even like qualifying. Sometimes I do end these a little bit late and I'm thinking, oh, okay, I can be 5 minutes late to qualifying. But I will be ending this live stream in about 5 to 10 minutes because I cannot miss the start of this race. Well, a sprint race. I'm so excited for this, but it's one of those things. This is just F1 wise, by the way. I will answer your question in a second, Tommy. But, I can't believe if Verstappen wins the sprint and the race, that's the championship over. Which is a shame, because I do think Norris has had plenty of chances to catch him and plenty of chances where he's gone wrong. And hey, we'll see what happens in 2025, because if it keeps this competitive for a whole season, oh my god, especially with Hamilton and a Ferrari, my money's on Hamilton and a Ferrari if Ferrari look like they are right now for a whole season. But yeah, right, with 124.7 million budget, I have 3 free transfers. I have Norris, Hamilton, Colapinto, Zhou, Bottas, Ferrari, and McLaren. What do I do? So, you should be able to, Tommy, I believe, can you not, 124? Can you not afford, how much money? You should be able to. How much money do I have? 125.8, I think I had. No. Yeah, Tommy, you should just be able to afford the team I've got. Now, you could use Leclerc if you don't want Piastri instead, but I generally do think increasing Hamilton to a Piastri is much better. Oh, no. Where's my Wi-Fi gone? Everyone, am I still here? I think I might have just got logged out. I can't tell. I think I'm still good. I think I am. Okay. I've got Piastri, Albon, Colapinto, Hulkenberg, Tsunoda, McLaren, and Ferrari. Got 7.7 million left. So, Nathan, in that situation, I would bring out Tsunoda for Lawson. And then you could drop Hulkenberg down. No. Hang on. Can you bring in 2 premium drivers? That's what I'm trying to figure out here, Nathan. If you could bring in Piastri, Russell, and drop Hulkenberg down, Tsunoda down, to Bottas and Zhou, I'd go for that instead. Right. Worth doing extra DRS with Verstappen and Norris now, or in Brazil, Qatar? I would do it now if you could, because I think Brazil, there's better options at Brazil. And also, Verstappen and Norris, if you have Verstappen and Norris as an extra DRS now, you're completely fine. Right, Brendan, please help. Russell, Albon, Sainz, or Sainz and Zhou. I'd go for Russell, Albon. Even though Albon's starting from the pit lane, it's a bit of an issue for him. I do think the race, he'll still get more points than Zhou, and I do think Russell will get more points than Sainz. So they both beat each other out. So that's what I'm going for. Yes. So, get your final questions in. We're getting to the end of it. I'm going to be on for 3-4 more minutes. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Norris Piastri or Norris Leclerc? Norris Piastri, 100%. I'd go for Norris Piastri. Okay. And then SC saying, I've got 121.9 million and currently have 3 transfers. Norris Russell, Colapinto, Bottas, Albon, McLaren, Mercedes, I believe so. I've got no money for a better team, and I think I go for autopilot. But thinking, I would go for autopilot then in your situation. Yeah, enjoy the race, Lannister. No problem, Nathan. Good luck, everyone. Where was I? Yeah, no, my bad. I would, if you've got 3 transfers, I would potentially geez, SC, you're in a really sticky situation because I think you just go autopilot Norris Russell, but I think your team's as good as it's going to get because you can only downgrade Albon to bring in Ferrari instead of Mercedes, but I don't think that's a difference, so I would just stick with what you've got for now. Yeah, no problem, Yannick. Yeah, Yannick, ask anything you want for 3 more minutes. I still have 3 times no negative and autopilot. Which tip should I use? So, Pete, if you don't have Verstappen Norris, I would go for autopilot instead this weekend, and then I'd no negative in Brazil, and then 3 times in Qatar. There you go. There's your chip strategy, cheeky chip strategy for the final few races. Ferrari or Mercedes? Ferrari, Zhou, Mercedes, Albon. I would go for Mercedes, Albon instead, though, if you had that, and that's why, if we go back to SC, I think that Mercedes Albon is better option. Yeah, good stuff. 100%. It's a shame that it's like that position, but if you could increase Albon to a Lawson or a Hulkenberg, maybe a different story, but that's the same for me. Maybe I wouldn't be going Norris Piastri this weekend if I could realistically get in Hulkenberg and Lawson, but I just don't think it's anything crazy. Yeah, I think that is about it. I'm going to wrap things up here. I would 2 times Norris, Nico. Norris and Russell are not good for the autopilot chip. Yeah, they're not amazing. And I have been telling people who have been coming in with like 120 million-ish points to use it. It's just, if you have 3 chips left, just use it. You know what I mean? It's still a better option to use it here than anywhere else, even with the likes of Norris and Russell, which is a shame. But sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. But yeah, GG's, man. Yeah, let's hope that we can risk it for a chocolate biscuit. That autopilot pays off. Anyone who's using extra DRS, I'm hoping that you have risked it and it's worked out. Limitless teams, I'll go over one more time for everyone, but I'm hoping that everyone enjoyed this live stream. We had a steady stream in and out of people. Thank you so much for watching. We've got this Limitless team showing now. If you are going to Limitless, it's not the worst weekend in the world to Limitless, but it's not my favorite, like I mentioned, just because of how much uncertainty there is around the grid. But I have 2 chips left, autopilot and 3 times, but I see what you mean. Yep, that's fine. Ferrari, Albon, Russell, or Mercedes, Zhou, and Piastri. I would go with Mercedes, Zhou, and Piastri, just because I think Piastri is a better option than Russell. Leclerc or Piastri, I would go with Piastri. Norris, Russell, Hulkenberg. I think that's completely fine because you're in a situation, far-fished, where you can't really increase any better than it was. And yes, you can use autopilot in Brazil. I think for now on a race where we could get to Brazil and Lando Norris looks like the best driver, and then if you autopilot there, it's an even worse option than autopiloting with Norris right now. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Mercedes is better than Ferrari. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for the support. We've got up to 1.59k subs. We're almost at 1,600. I'm hoping to get above 1,600. We can do it before the triple header ends, 100%. Let's hope we can get it by next weekend. But anyway, thank you so much for everyone joining. I am 21, for anyone asking, WCX. So yeah, I know, I'm an adult. It's crazy. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoy the race because it's in 12 minutes. Get your teams in, get them in locked. Make sure you have used your chip if you have got the chips there. And hey, let's get up OBS before I do my outro because otherwise I'm going to be doing it and then scrambling for that. But yeah, enjoy the race, everyone. Thank you so much for the support. I hope you will enjoy it, and I hope you all have good luck for this race and for the rest of the season. I'll see you all later. I'll see you potentially for a live stream after the race, or maybe just a video. I haven't made my mind up yet. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye. I'm trying to do the end stream.